Racing League. Season 3, Week 8's coming up right now, and we have our Truck Series racing at the Rallycross at Phoenix. Ran into the setup that we used last season. Didn't work, so we had to delay the start 15 minutes so I could get a new setup going. And this is a special edition. It's a Tuesday night. Normally we're on Wednesdays. So right now I'd like to introduce to everybody Andrew Thornton from Topless Tuesday Racing. Andrew, welcome to the Joe Sixpack podcast.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so you're saying you got an internet problem, so you're unable to do your iRacing leagues tonight? How is that affecting that?
Well, luckily I've got a good admin team with Joey Smith and Edmund Jones, and they're handling it for me. They just wrapped up our midget race at Eldora tonight, and hopefully we can get my internet resolved, and I can make the non-wagon race at the asphalt sprint for sure a little bit.
That's really rough when that goes out. So it looks like you and I both did some traveling this weekend, from what I understand. You were down doing some announcing for some drag racing. Tell me about that.
Occasionally I travel down to Monroe, Louisiana from Northeast Arkansas, and I announce some drag races at the Twin City Raceway. I kind of go where I'm needed. I travel around. I do some announcing, also race photography on top of racing my own stuff.
Well, that's really cool. How did you get involved in? Because we have a lot in common. I did talk radio for 6 years. I don't do any announcing for racing, but I do the podcast, and I'm also a professional photographer somewhat on the side. How did you get started first off in the broadcasting or the race announcing?
Actually, I got into both photography and announcing the same way. I grew up drag racing in Houston, Texas, at Houston Raceway Park, and as a teenage kid that moved up out of the junior drag ranks, I built my own car, and when it broke, I wanted to be at the track doing something, so I would hang out in race control, and they started handing me a mic when I would start commentating over their shoulder. And that's kind of where that started, and photography was the same thing. I just wanted to keep busy doing something at the track.
Isn't it amazing how the longer you hang out at the track, you kind of get sucked into it at the first time anybody sees any interest?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, my entire childhood growing up was spent at Houston Raceway Park because we had the quarter-mile drag strip, and there was a 3/8 mile dirt track until about 5 years ago. And every single Saturday night, or every Saturday growing up, me and Dad would go to the drag strip in the morning, watch the bracket series, and then when the bracket series was done, we'd go get lunch and come back in the evening and go watch dirt races at 7 o'clock every Saturday.
That is so cool. So, how long did it take you to get from Arkansas down to the track you were broadcasting at this weekend?
About 6.5 hours.
All right, yeah, we had a little longer. We had a 10-hour drive. Like I was telling you, we went down to Martinsville this weekend, and oh my gosh, it was insane. Of course, they had the truck race and Xfinity on Saturday, and Noah Gragson winning, and at a split second by like 1/100th of a second, he crossed the line before the 22, and we had moved down from our seats right down to the finish line, and it was crazy. And then, of course, yesterday, the thing between Hamlin and Byron, again, we moved right down, and it happened right in front of us, and I was lucky enough to get the whole thing on video, and it was so surreal. So it had a lot of fun. Any excitement like that down at your races?
Had a couple of first time winners. It was in the Halloween edition bracket races. There's a lot of the local, the regular, bread and butter racers for the racetrack, and a couple of guys that have been trying for years finally turned on the win light in the final round, and did the trick or treating for all the kids that waited around patiently in costume all day. And
oh, that's cool.
I mean, I guess I was too. Washed up race car driver, complete with microphone.
So, how old were you when you started driving? Your first time you drove? I think you said you've done some go karts and stuff like that.
So I started off drag racing in the junior dragster category, and I got kind of a late start. I started at age 10 because my parents wanted me and my younger brother to do it together.
Gotcha. So
So I
10,
had to wait.
10 is actually late to get started. Wow. So,
But here I am 15 years later, and I drag raced full time until about 2017, and since then I've had a dirt factory stock Camaro, and I still race the flat carts, on dirt and pavement as well.
oh, that's cool. The only closest thing I've done to carts are the only like the electric ones at the indoor speedways. That's about the closest I've gotten to racing. But those
yeah,
are a blast too.
Those carts are fun as well.
Oh yeah. And you get done going around that indoor track at 40, 50 miles an hour, your insides hurt because they got to be put back in place. So I can't imagine what it's like racing on the real stuff outside because the G forces are just incredible. So tell me, when did you get involved in iRacing?
iRacing came about a year ago. Matter of fact, I think my stuff's up for renewal this week, so thank you for reminding me.
Oh, you're welcome.
What actually how it ended up happening was I had just recently moved to Northeast Arkansas, and I was working a factory job and ended up getting quarantined by association.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Just somebody at our department, and during those 2 weeks, one of my friends over in Southwest Missouri put his old computer whole iRacing system up for sale, and the price I couldn't pass up, so I had my mom pick it up and deliver it to me.
Well, that's
and yeah, it all started with that, and the computer's absolute dinosaur. It was built in sometime like 2008, running for full year on dirt with no dynamic track states or anything, just guessing and driving.
Yeah, we started out racing on a laptop. I've got pictures of what the rig looks like now. It's all old school man cave built. It's like you cut the wood 6 times, it's still the wrong size, but you make it work because Tools and I don't get along. So we started out sitting on the floor using a laptop with an 18-inch screen and one of those wheels that kind of clamped onto a desk, and that's how we got started. I'm really surprised. I know the pandemic brought a lot of people to iRacing, but it brought a lot of real race car drivers to iRacing. Is that what you're finding too?
Oh, absolutely. And it's been a blast. I've had a couple opportunities to run with, from some superstars from all different types of motorsports, especially in the hosted sessions late at night, man. You never know who's going to pop up.
That's true. Who's the most famous one you raced with or against?
I would say, at least just from my background with NHRA drag racing, I happen to be in a lobby with the Top Fuel Funny Car driver Cruz Pedregon and Coletta Motorsports driver J.R. Todd. We all 3 of us ended up in the same session one night.
Wow, that's cool. I probably say the most famous one that I was racing in was a regular iRacing session with Martin Truex, former crew chief. That was really cool.
Oh, okay.
So you see him show up.
And on the the dirt late model side, I've been in a couple sessions with Chris Ferguson.
I know the name.
And,
yeah. Okay. So you've been in iRacing for just about a year, and you've got all these leagues going, and I see you're starting up a new one. So tell me how Topless Tuesday came about.
So Topless Tuesday kind of just started off as a joke. Me and my buddy Joey, before we learned how to do this whole Discord deal, me and Joey have been best friends since junior high. So we used to sit there and run another league that we ran on Monday and Tuesday nights and just sit and talk on the phone during this entire deal.
Mm-hmm.
And they ran a fun race one night with the non-wing sprint cars. And it's a shame that nobody's running these for a league. And then we just got on the topic of, what other cars are, of that sort that are ill handling and nobody really has a home for them at this point. And we came up with midgets and 360 non-wing sprints and asphalt sprint cars. And he goes, "What do you call it?" And I said, "I don't know, something cheesy. Has to sound like a Tuesday special at a gentleman's club."
There you go. And it turns out
that's where Topless Tuesday came from.
Got it. And like I said last week, and I apologize for that whole audio situation last week. I just Googled your name and Topless Tuesday, and the other one came up, and it was somebody else's league with the same name. So I wondered that.
Yeah, and I actually wasn't even aware of that that league and them using that name. So, who knows how many of my advertisements end up helping them get cars, because we don't have tiny fields per se, but they're not big either.
Yeah.
We average about 8 to 10, sometimes 12 cars per race, and I mean I'm happy with that, but I would like to see it with regularity.
Yeah. Of those 8 and 10 cars, are they all pretty much the same group of guys every week, or ladies?
Yeah, kind of on a rotation. For the most part, they're pretty much the same group of guys. So when we all get together, I mean, we can all run wheel to wheel and know who Smith and who you can't.
Yeah, that's I don't remember the last time up until this past week that I ran any official or unofficial iRacing races. You just get into the league and it just takes up a good 20, 30 hours a week when I got my own garden design business, so I'm off for the winter up here in New York, so I got plenty of time to spend on it. We have our truck league on Tuesday nights, which I said just got done or is just about done at the Phoenix Rallycross. It's a blast. We ran our truck league all on dirt last year, and it was so much fun. And again, it's our lowest populated league. We get about 8 to 10 drivers on average, and it's pretty much the same guys. And our Sunday league, that's our big one, where we average probably just over 20 drivers. So, you're doing asphalt sprint cars at 9 p.m. That's all on Tuesday night Central Time, correct? The non-wings and the dirt midgets are all on Tuesday evening.
Yes, sir. We run the midgets at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. The non-wing 360 sprint cars at 7:30 p.m. and the asphalt sprint cars at 9 p.m.
And do any of the races overlap, or so it's like a separate crowd in each one?
No, they don't really overlap. We do get guys. We have a handful of them every here and there that jump in and run all three with us.
Wow, that's dedication.
But as far as overlapping, every once in a while we'll have a midget session.
Got it. So you just started a Wednesday night program. Tell me about that and how that's going so far.
So right now the counts are small for sure, and it might just be my lack of research to see who's running what on that night. But we run pro late models at 6:30 p.m. Central, and the 410 wing sprint cars at 7:30 p.m. Central, and both of them are open setup by request. Which I guess I should add. My entire Tuesday night league is all fixed setups.
Got it. Okay. And any requirements to join, like certain license class or iRating, et cetera, like that?
No. I mean, we're a definitely beginner friendly league, because some of us can't drive, and that's okay, including myself. I'm the bottom split in my own league.
Yeah, I got to keep reminding our admins when we review all the races during the week on Wednesday. We have our admin meeting right before the podcast comes on, and of course, some drivers are better than others, and I gotta sometimes remind the admins. I said, if we were an official iRacing league, we would be bottom split, because we have anything under 2,000 for an iRating and safety rating, rookie 2.0 to A 4.0. But the other thing we look at, and we had to bounce a couple drivers that tried to join, their numbers were fine. Then I go to their stats, and I'm like, wow, this guy's doing pretty well. He's been driving a little over a year. He's won 18% of his races, and 30% of the time he's in the top 5. And then you look over at the incidents, and they're like 18 and 20 incidents per race. So sorry, guy, you're not getting in.
Right, and especially with the particular animals that we run with, especially on Tuesday night, the incident points can be forgiven for these typical type of cars, because they're high horsepower, short wheelbase, and no downforce, so you can't expect everybody to drive them great
and all over the place. So I don't run many dirt races, although we're looking for somebody in our Sunday league to run a dirt series. So do you do the qualifying heats and like that, and then a main at the end? How does that work?
Yes. So the midgets and the non-wing sprint cars on Tuesdays, they have a full format qualifying. Qualifying sets the lineup for the heat races. We invert the top four out of qualifying into the heats, and then the top four out of the heats will invert into the feature for both those series. Now the asphalt sprint cars are a short and sweet program. They have 20 minutes of practice. We run 3 laps of qualifying and straight into a 50 lap main event.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And then our Wednesday night stuff, just to keep the times down until we have some more interest. It's the same setup: a little bit of practice, 3 laps qualifying straight into an A main.
Got it. So you told me you're also involved with the Jones BS. We all know what BS means. The Jones BS Racing League. What's that all about?
So that's a league that was started by my buddy Edmund Jones, who I believe you actually have him lined up to be on the podcast here in about a month or so.
Yeah, I think he's coming on later on this month or early December.
Yep. So that's a league that runs on Monday nights, where they run Legends on. They run Legends and Tour Modifieds on Monday nights. On Friday nights, it runs super late models, and then we put up a hosted Sunday Fun Day thing at 7:30 p.m. on Sunday nights.
Okay.
The Legends are an open setup deal. The Tour Mods and super late models are a fixed setup from Edward Speed Shop, one of our admins who works solely as race control.
Oh, okay. And do you have race control in your other leagues, or do you use iRacing rules?
So because the car counts are low to this point, we haven't had the need for a race control. I have hotkeys and I admin while racing.
Got it. Okay, that's what we did.
And we have three sets of eyes on the track usually for that.
Got it. Yeah, the first 2 seasons in our Sunday league, I was doing race control, and then they just started to, everybody wanted me to drive, so I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll drive. So we started out in October of 2019, just before COVID. And what I wanted to do is I didn't really want to do a league, so we started doing like a monthly money race. You pick a track and use the iRacing rules, and then you have a couple fun races to get people interested. And we started having the same, after 2 or 3 weeks of doing that, we had the same drivers all the time. So we did one money race, and then they said, hey, let's do a league. And I said, who's going to run it? And everybody kind of drafted me into it. And it turned out to be, it's just a lot of fun. You get to, a lot of friends, and met a couple of them up at New Hampshire racetrack. I met somebody else down at Dover. And it's so cool when we're doing our admin meetings that one guy's in Long Island, I'm in New York, another admin's in New Hampshire, and then there's a guy across the pond over in Ireland. And you're just sitting back in your man cave having a beer, talking about racing with guys all over the world. It's a lot of fun.
iRacing. And that's similar with our league as well. Like I said, me and Joey grew up together, and I've moved away from home. He still lives in Southeast Texas. I'm in Northwest Arkansas. Edmund is in Eastern Washington.
Wow.
And Austin Edwards, our setup guy in race control, he's from California. So we're all over the place as well.
Yep, and you develop some really good friendships. I consider these guys personal friends.
Absolutely, our entire group, we're all thinking about getting together and going on my bus to Bristol to go see the World of Outlaws next year. So.
Oh, that's Bristol's on our bucket list, but after Martinsville, it's going to be hard to pull us away from that, because that was quite the.
Absolutely, it definitely worth the trip. My first time to Bristol was to see the World of Outlaws sprint cars on dirt earlier this year. I definitely want to go back and watch pavement race as well.
Yeah. What do they call Bristol? The last real Coliseum or something like that.
Last Great Coliseum.
The Last Great Coliseum. So, when your seasons are done, do you take breaks for summers? Do you race on the holidays? And how do you plan your following seasons? Like, first of all, how many races are in each season?
So each season is 10 weeks. I just started the Topless Tuesday League in June, so we're on season 2. We only had a 2-week break.
Yeah.
We just changed the format up completely because initially I was running 4 classes, 2 races a night, and just every other week you'd come back to the same 2 classes.
Yeah.
So we would run non-wing sprint cars and on dirt, and then the asphalt sprints one week, and then the next week we would run the midgets and the Silver Crown cars.
Got it. Okay.
And we ended up dropping Silver Crown due to lack of interest. I think the end of the season we only had 5 guys on the points list.
Yeah.
And as much as I love the cars, there's just not a lot of love for them, I guess.
Yeah.
And so we restructured, and the original deal was to go just straight 3 races on Tuesday and call it good. And then we had a few guys that were throwing ideas around, and we started running some test races and said, well, okay, we'll add the pro late models and the wing sprint cars. We'll just run them on Wednesday.
There you go.
And at this point, unless we can get some more cars, I don't think the Wednesday program is going to stick for too long, or we might change it up and do something else.
Right. How do you go about recruiting for new seasons? Do you use the Facebook iRacing groups and do some fun races to kind of find out who races and who's interested?
Yeah, we use social media to the best of our knowledge anyway, and then we hold a couple recruitment races per class. I think my season is currently slated to end the week before Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
because this is week 7 right now, and I think after that we're going to run some fun races through the holidays, but I don't think we're going to start a competitive season again until the new year.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Our truck season ends 2 weeks from tonight because they run 10 weeks. The Cup Sunday Series runs 13, and I think we finish middle of December. So then we don't race on holidays. We took Halloween off, and then we're going to run between Christmas and New Year's some, like you said, some fun races. Start recruiting, and we're looking to do season 4. I think January 10th. It all depends on when New Year's is. So that's what we're going to do there. And then in January, we have our 4th league is going to be starting. We're going to be running Formula V road courses. We've had a lot of drivers ask to do a road course league, and Formula V, it's just so much of a fun car to drive. We did that for one of our off-season races over the summer, and everybody loved it. So we're going to start working on that and planning on the recruiting races. And how do you judge drivers during the recruiting races? Does everybody get in automatically, or do you have the admins kind of keep an eye on who's a good driver and who's might not just make it?
We take a look at overall how clean they drive. Obviously if the guy's straight lining people into the corners and banking off of them for traction, that's kind of not the guy I want to run with.
Exactly.
But if they can go out there, they can run clean. If they struggle a little bit to make consistent laps, doesn't hurt our feelings. A lot of it is the cars we choose generally don't get official sessions because there's not enough cars.
Yeah,
and gives people an opportunity to run when they come join with us, and they don't have to be B class or A class, and they don't even have to have a whole lot of experience to be competitive per se, because we generally use the iRacing base setups.
Yep, that's what we do.
That way you can test all week long and get to the point where you feel comfortable. And and different tracks we have different followings. As far as car counts, some tracks I feel like would do pretty good. Don't sometimes, and like for instance, we ran a midget race at Knoxville 2 weeks ago, and I did not expect a whole lot of cars. It just doesn't seem like a really popular track combination, and we had 17 cars, which is a record for the league.
Yeah, that's a good turnout.
And then Kokomo last week we had 5, which I kind of figured we would have had more.
Wow. Yeah, it's
it's a roller coaster. Some weeks
Yep.
you're on, some weeks you're off, and sometimes it's it's no fault of anybody's. It's just everybody's busy that week.
Yep. No, I hear you. It's like I absolutely love road courses, but I am terrible at them. So I was just joking around with somebody, one of our admins last week who was a guest on the show. And we, out of our 13-week season, we run 3 road courses. And I'm saying, yeah, I said, I love Watkins Glen. We go there every summer. We camp just one campsite away, row back from the track. And I said, and I told the admin, I got him really laughing. I said, yeah, I really suck at road courses. I said, in our league, we could have 17 cars and I'll finish 24th. I can't figure out what's going on, but it's just so much fun. And I live about an hour from Lime Rock, and I volunteer over there on their big race weekends. Making sure the drivers get to the podium and making sure that they get from their paddock over to the finish line and stuff like that, and handing out the trophies. And it's so much fun. I got to drive my truck around that track a couple times. It's a blast. Let me tell you, even going 70 miles an hour down the front stretch at Lime Rock, you feel like you're going fast. It was insane. So love road courses, but I suck at them, but I'm going to keep on racing them. So that's why we're starting that road course league in January on the Formula Vs. At least I can be competitive on those. Those are a fun car to drive.
I enjoy the road race stuff. Quite frankly, the Formula V, in my opinion, is horrible. I can't drive it anyway, but I do okay driving cars that most people don't like. Me and Joey have taken a liking to the Australian supercars, which a lot of people struggle with, and I enjoy them.
Okay.
And we've joked about running those around too. It's just there's not a lot of interest, so we haven't taken any sort of serious step towards it.
Yeah, at least iRacing gives a pretty broad offering out there. I haven't done the Australian supercars. I've seen them. They look like they're pretty wild. I also like running the Ferraris and the Cadillacs and the Corvettes. And I guess it's like an IMSA type series. A couple like multi-class races. Those are a lot of fun to drive.
Oh yeah, and I'm a fan of the open wheel stuff. I'm probably one of the few people in iRacing that actually enjoy the Lotus 49 and 79.
Oh, I like the Lotus. Those are cool.
Yeah, the 49 is everything you think you know about road racing. Do it backwards, and you're pretty good.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, those are cool. There's a lot of those when I'm over at Lime Rock. A lot of the Lotus style cars, and these guys they're great because there's a vintage weekend that they have on Labor Day, and a couple of years ago the featured cars were Bugattis, and these guys are driving, and any Bugatti, whether it's a 19 teens or a brand new one, they're $3 million cars. So I was asking one of the guys, I said, where do you get insurance on these? And the typical answer, Lloyd's of London. And then he says, but if they find out we're racing, they will only cover 25% of the value of the car. So basically, these guys have a $2.5 million deductible if they get in a wreck and total their car on a track.
Money would be a great thing to have. I could imagine how great my program could be with half that.
Oh gosh, you're not kidding. But they go out there and they have a absolute blast on it. So sponsors, and let's say I get in your league and I'm lucky enough to finish in second or first place or something like that. Do you have any prizes or plaques or stickers you send out? What does a winner or a champ get at the end of the season?
So at this point, it's a bragging rights, a pat on the back type thing. It's not something we've taken seriously enough. When we've talked about throwing some stuff around, something for the winner when we get cards, but we don't. We don't accept entry fees or anything to offset that sort of cost, and I just run the league out of my pocket.
Yep, that's what I do. Yeah, a bunch of the other admins want to make it, like $10 or $20 entry fee, and I'm like, I just wouldn't feel right doing that. So
a lot of it would be for reasons like I've got tonight. I'm sitting up here in town because there's an internet outage, and I'd be upset if I had paid entry to get into a league tonight to find out that I can't pay because of internet.
Yeah, there you go. We had a situation tonight on the rallycross track because, of course, there's no setups for the Gander trucks, and one of our admins came up with an open setup, or I guess open setup, custom setup that we ran on every dirt track last year, including the Rallycross. So they all log on to a practice session tonight, and I start getting these emails and texts. It's about 8 minutes before the league is supposed to start, and they're in a practice session, and they said, we're getting failed texts on this thing. And I said, oh gosh. So I went in and I had to push the opening of the practice room back by 15 minutes to 7:15, and just went scrambling around the setups that we used on other dirt tracks last year. And I found one, threw up a dummy session, and it worked. And we saved the night. So I don't know if you've ever had something like that where you've had a setup that worked at one time and then you come back and it doesn't work the next time.
So you've been around iRacing long enough. You know the perils of trying to run a Tuesday night league. If there's an update, it's going to affect your league.
Yes.
So the most recent one I can think of is week 2. They changed the tire model and the frame geometry entirely of our non-wing sprint cars.
Oh gosh.
So the setup was miserable. You used to go in and it would glide into the corner, and then this one here, you were having to stand on the brake and crank it to the left to get it to turn. And I mean, the only plus side to that is being a fixed setup. If one person's struggling, we're all struggling the same way.
Exactly.
So,
and we had
it still made a race out of it. I mean, it was just a bunch of, I've never driven a non-wing sprint car that's tight. But, yeah, because usually you spend more time with the wheel turned to the right than anything else.
That's true.
Even down the straightaways, it's just varying degrees of throttle and how much you're turning right. You never turn the car to the left.
Pretty much. Yeah, we the other time we had a situation was we ran trucks on Bristol dirt. And again, the original setup that we had worked fine, practicing all week. We get to the race, and all of a sudden it didn't work. So I had to scramble, but I had the whole day to do it. So we just went with the basic truck setup, which I don't think it's on there anymore, but it happened to work fine. So we had this one guy bitching and moaning during the whole race. What do you mean we're running this? We have you need to cancel this race and reset it up in the old set, blah 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 blah. So we muted him, then he started texting everybody, and by the end of the race we just had enough of him and ended up kicking him out of the league. And we just we told the guy, we said, hey, we're all running the same setup. It's not like you got in and you got this set up, or you've got 3 sets of tires and someone else has got 4. But this guy just bitched and moaned for the whole race and had to get rid of him. So that doesn't happen too often. Do you ever have to boot people from your league for, being impolite or racing like a jerk or anything? And how do you handle that?
No, honestly, at least in my league, the dirt league, we haven't had any sort of issue like that. I mean, obviously, there's some stuff that if they hadn't apologized, it would almost look intentional, but it's just the nature of the cars. They bite weird spots, or they'll pull power wheelies, so you run up into the left side of somebody because your wheels are in the air and they're trying to get down the straightaway. And no, everybody we run with is generally pretty good about self-policing themselves.
Yeah, that's cool.
Whenever anybody gets into somebody, whoever caused it will generally say, well, that's on me. We give them an EOL and go about the day.
Yeah. Saying you're sorry.
On, the asphalt stuff, we run into a little bit more of having to police other people.
Yeah.
But that also has a lot to do with, league size. Edmonds League has grown exponentially, and I couldn't be more proud of him. Cool. I wish everything I've promoted in my life would blow up like that did.
Wow.
And we're talking, we've got 54 or 55 cars on the legend points, and 36 or 37 cars on the modified points this year.
That's great. Speaking of having to police it a little more, do you have a system set up for like warnings and penalties or something like that? Oops, I think we lost him. Andrew, you still there? Okay. Well, Andrew, if you can hear me, I want to say thanks for being on tonight. Sounds like your cell phone was going out a little bit. I know that. We live in the sticks up here in New York. We're 25 miles from the state capital that spends more money than anybody else in the country, and our cell service still sucks. So you're breaking up a little bit there at the end, but I do want to thank you. That was a great interview we've had tonight. Andrew Thornton from Topless Tuesday Racing. Andrew is still racing cars. He started out 10 years old, drag racing, and he said that was a late start. Incredible. I want to thank Andrew for coming out tonight. If you want some information on joining any of Andrew Thornton's league, Topless Tuesday Racing or JBSRL, the Jones BS Racing League, you can look up Andrew Thornton on Facebook. He was kind enough to reach out when I posted looking for guests for the show, and he runs the Topless Tuesday League. Ask you to follow the Joe Sixpack podcast so you can find out when we're on, and we start getting some followers. We're going to get some more prizes going out there. I go to all the NASCAR tracks and other tracks around, and I've got, if you can see back on my wall here, it's one room of car stuff. I'm in my office here where I run my landscaping business out of, and then there's racing stuff all over the wall, and I've got about 7 or 8 bags of stuff that I just need to get rid of, and we hand those out as prizes in our league. So, Andrew, if you're out there, I want to say thanks for stopping by. Hope your internet gets fixed so you can get home and race on time. We will be back tomorrow night with our regular weekly broadcast of the Joe Sixpack podcast. Tonight was a special edition because last Wednesday Andrew was on, and I had audio issues. There's a big update on the iPad, new thing coming out, and it totally screwed up the audio on Discord, which is where we interview our folks from. Tomorrow night, November 3rd, 8 p.m., we will have special guest Jeff McConey from the McConey Setup Shop. Jeff also does a lot of other stuff in racing. His profile picture on Facebook shows him at what looks like a dirt track with a microphone in his hand. And he will be here at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. And you can tune in live at twitch.tv/Greg Drace, Draiss. Or you can go to twitch.tv and just look up the Joe Sixpack podcast. Every podcast is broadcast live, of course, and it stays up for 2 weeks. If you have some friends that you think you might want to listen, or if your friend is on, you want to share it with some of your other friends, just copy the link and share it around. The more people, the better. Want to let you know one other thing the Joe Sixpack podcast is doing. Excuse me. Lone Star Racing is having a charity second annual Toys for Tots race. Joe Sixpack podcast and Joe Sixpack Racing League is sponsoring 5 of their plaques. They give out 5 plaques for the first top 5 finishers. Seen a picture of them. They look pretty good. And also some other ones, most money raised, most fastest lap, such like that. So we're sponsoring 5 of those. The race is November 28th at 7:45 Central Time. Kind of a race for everybody. It's fixed setup cup cars at Kansas. Going to be 150 laps. It's going to be broadcast live on Pedal to the Metal Racing TV, PTM, who is going to be picking up our broadcast for Season 4 for the Joe Sixpack Racing Cup League. All proceeds go to charity. Plaques to the top 5 drivers. There's also awards and door prizes. And I think if you make a $10 donation, I was talking to Justin about this, they're giving away some iRacing rig setups, and they look pretty cool. So we're going to try to get some of our drivers in on that. And Justin Johnson will be here as a guest a week from Thursday. So I think that's the 11th, if I'm not mistaken. Thursday, the 11th at 8 p.m. Anyway, we'll be promoting the heck out of it on social media. Joe Sixpack Podcast is on Twitch, of course. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, and also the stories and reels there. And we promote the heck out of our guests because they bring us the show. If it wasn't for them, the guests, it would just be me talking about nothing. And I don't like talking about much. Kind of gets boring listening to me like it's starting to get right now. So Justin Johnson from Lone Star Racing, if you're interested in getting in and sponsoring or being part of the race, it's a Toys for Tot, 150 laps, November 28th, 7:45 Central Time. Fixed Cup cars at Kansas. You can look up Justin Johnson or Lone Star Racing on Facebook and hook up with him and get some information. He's been advertising on iRacing Leagues, mentioning the sponsors, and he mentioned us as a sponsor. I want to thank him for that. And don't forget, tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, Jeff McConey from McConey Setup Shop will be talking setups on iRacing and whatever else he does in racing, which looks like quite a bit. And as usual, it's the Joe Sixpack Racing Podcast, Racing for the Rest of Us podcast for the rest of us. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the track.